I've tweaked the sounds just a bit for now and have added another instrument, a Blofeld, this time a hardware instrument that I'm playing directly just as we learned in the very first tutorial, and have another sound here just for the example. It's not using program change, but as discussed before, the patches are really stored within the program, so you don't have to worry about overwriting patches in your hardware. You simply select the instrument and MIDI channel if needed, and then save the patch like you would with a VST instrument. I've also changed the upper keyboard range of step 2 to C2 to leave some room for the new instrument, and I've turned MIDI sync on, and inside MIDI sync I've turned Blofeld on, so it will sync with the delay and LFOs. That is stored here by the main page, by the way, the MIDI sync information. So let's get going. I'll turn direct play off here and name this module lead, and some time, play, and also select the input here for the Blofeld. And then in step I'll just turn division to 2, all on, duration of 16 note. You can already hear the Blofeld going there a bit. Call that duve 2. And in the note module, of course, with the offset I could already get it to move now. It's quite fun. I'll just take offset back to 0, and we already know ARP chord direct here, but it's still fun, right? I'll just set the range from C#2 and upwards. And with that we could already play something. I'll keep that around and call it chord. And then we already looked at note D in the last tutorial, but now we're going to look at note control. CTR meaning control, and remember to turn grab on for it to grab notes. Then punch in C0 and C1 here, just set the range to 2 and offset it a little bit so we can hear it better. It will then alternate between those two notes, but controlled by our keyboard still. A note value of C is neutral in this mode, so to speak. And I'll just add C2 up here. So now we get 2 octaves here on whatever note we're playing on the keyboard, and then alternating to the octave in between. Quite like that, so I'll call that shuffle 2. And make another one here with a range of 3. So instead, when I put G1 in, that's not really G1, it's just a fifth above whatever note you're playing. It's quite fun as well. I'll store that as shuffle 3, number 3. I'll make another one here with 5 and punch in D sharp and G. Again, now we have like a minor chord. And it will play a minor chord no matter what note we hold down, using that note as the bass note. I also store that. And now we can shuffle around with that. Like a very programmable and always synchronized arpeggiator. You see, currently every time I press down a note, it plays the next step, but let's explore how we can get it to play in different ways. Follow on here, for example, it tries to follow the movement in the step module, but with trigger you see the step module stops and re-triggers every time I press a note. And when I hold the note, it will then play through the steps. You can hear now it really triggers in the rhythm I play, but then with quantize on we have a rhythmical aid. And now with follow off again, every time I press a note the step module re-triggers, but it plays the next note in the note module. Turning loop on while in trigger mode makes the step module keep looping as long as you hold the note. And of course with follow back on, it lets you start from the beginning every time you trigger a new note. I'll just turn quantize off again so you can hear as I play notes rapidly after each other. It quickly gets quite chaotic, since if I press a new note while holding the first, it will still re-trigger, but this is where T-up comes in handy. Now it works like a normal arpeggiator would, staying in the rhythm until you release all notes and trigger again. In fact, all modules that have T-arp or trigger arp on work together as one synchronized trigger instrument. So if I'll just turn hold off on step 1 and 2 here, and actually stop, since we don't need that for this mode, then you can hear first the bass drum instrument alone. See how that triggers and keeps looping as I hold. But hold on, once I trigger, then holds, which could be useful, but right now we want it to be more like an arpeggiator. So hold off. Now those 3 on step 2 as well, and 3. And there we can now play all our parts together like a combined meta or hyper arpeggiator. Release all notes and re-trigger as we like. Of course, all 4 I could start here with the lead and then bring step 2 in like this, and then all 4. It's really quite magical. I'll quickly just reset those 4 node modules to their stored state using keyboard shortcuts, which I will finally cover in the next tutorial. Then store all the step modules just to be sure, and store the main page to remember the new routing we set up, and save the set.